When a player gets drafted, they enter the NBA with a certain set of expectations based on what scouts and fans view them as from a prospect standpoint. If the majority of people see you as a player with star potential, it may be disappointing if you don't become a star, and the same goes for every other role a player can be served as when they're drafted. With this being said though, young players take time to adjust to the level of play in the NBA, and it's very rare for them to step onto an NBA court and immediately dominate at that level they may be capable of over time, which is why, so often, we see a huge leap in production from a player's first season to their second season. This brings us to the topic of today's video, where we'll be discussing 4 second-year NBA players currently breaking out in a huge way after promising yet inconsistent rookie seasons. For this list, I also didn't include players like LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards because they were already looking really good as rookies, so their improvement this season more so falls under the natural progression category. Before we start though, I want to thank PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. PrizePicks is the perfect service for all of us basketball fans here because when you're involved, it makes watching games every night so much more fun and engaging. Basically, it's an application that provides you with lines on all kinds of individual player props, such as points, rebounds, assists, three-pointers made amongst others, and you simply have to choose whether you believe they will record over the set amount in the line or under the set amount in the line. Make your selections, wager however much you want to, and if your picks hit, you can win some big money. For some picks that I'm looking at making for today's slate of games, I'm thinking of going with Bojan Bogdanovic to score over 15.5 points, Tyrese Haliburton to dish out over 8 assists, and James Harden to make over 2.5 threes. If this sounds at all intriguing to you, then go use the link down in the description of the video to sign up today, and use promo code REFERENCE to receive a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. Once again, thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the topic at hand. The first second-year player breaking out in a massive way this season is Desmond Bane of the Memphis Grizzlies. Bane was a player who was drafted with the last pick of the first round back in 2020, which at the time I thought was ridiculous because of the skill set that he had being worthy of a much earlier selection, and I even had him on my list of hidden gems in that class. And now 2 years later, he's showing everyone why that's the case. His most NBA-ready attribute was his shooting ability, which earned him a spot in the Grizzlies' rotation from day one as a rookie. In that first season, he averaged about 9 points per game and shot about 43% from 3, so immediately he was one of the best spot-up shooters in the league, which is pretty strong base to build off of. Now this year though, he's proving to be much more than just a spot-up shooter. This season he's averaging about 18 points per game while shooting 45% from the field and 41% from 3, so he's maintaining his superb efficiency while increasing his volume, and he's doing so by becoming a much more well-rounded scorer. Because of the threat that he poses from deep, defenses tend to overextend on him out there, and this season he's punishing those defenses for it by taking defenders off of the dribble, attacking the rim, or even pulling up more in the mid-range. With injuries to Dillon Brooks forcing him to miss a ton of time this year for the Grizzlies, Bane has stepped into the role of the team's second option on offense, and he's done an outstanding job there for a Grizzlies team with the third best record in the whole NBA at the moment. The next second-year player currently having a huge breakout season is Tyrese Maxey of the Philadelphia 76ers. Maxey's rookie season featured a ton of inconsistency because the team was the 1 seed in the East and their priorities were more on contending than it was on his development. He did manage to show off his shot-making potential and burst with the ball in his hands in spurts last year, but his role was never consistent. Coming into this season though, because of the Ben Simmons drama, he knew he would have a chance to step into a much bigger role, and he came into training camp ready to seize control of all of it. On the season as a whole, Maxey is averaging about 17 points and 5 assists per game this year, but he's also shooting it incredibly efficiently across the board, making 48% of his shots and 41% of his threes. When he picks up speed, he's as quick as anyone in the league with the ball in his hands, and his shiftiness and touch around the basket with a vast array of floaters and layups have made him one of of the best drivers in the league this season. What's most notable, though, is how his game has been taken to yet another level since the arrival of James Harden alongside him in the Sixers backcourt. In the 3 games that they have played together, Maxey has scored a combined 74 points in those 3 games, and with Harden taking over the primary ball handler duties, Maxey can focus more on the things that he excels at, which includes putting pressure on the defenses by quickly attacking the basket, getting out and running in transition, and hitting spot-up threes. Maxey, Embiid, and Harden have scored more points as a trio than any trio in NBA history have in their first 3 games playing together, making it pretty clear that Maxey should continue to thrive in that third option role. The next second-year player breaking out in a big way this season is Tyrese Haliburton, now of the Indiana Pacers. His breakout began when he was a member of the Sacramento Kings, which is why everyone was so baffled when they chose to trade him to Indiana at the trade deadline. Haliburton plays like a veteran primary ball handler and demonstrates a poise well beyond his years. He's incredibly smart regarding his decision-making, he's an elite passer with terrific vision, and he's an efficient shooter and overall scorer, making 47% of his shots and 41% of his threes this year. On the season as a whole, he's been averaging about 15 points and 8 assists per game, but since his arrival in Indiana, he's been averaging about 20 points and 10 assists per game, which may be a smaller sample size, but it does show how ready he was to take control of an offense, and we even did see it when he was in Sacramento, because his production reminisced that in games that De'Aaron Fox did not play, but it's something that he couldn't always do while playing alongside Fox. The Pacers are in a kind of a weird spot right now, with quite a few solid pieces, but also being in 13th place in the Eastern Conference standings, so they could either rebuild or try to retool, but either way, having Haliburton in the fold makes either of those options viable. And finally, the last second-year player we'll be discussing today having a strong breakout season is Cole Anthony of the Orlando Magic. When the Magic drafted Jalen Suggs this year, there were a ton of questions about whether or not Anthony would even have a spot on the team for very long, because not only do Suggs and Anthony both naturally play the point guard position, but Markelle Fultz was another lead guard in the fray for Orlando that they invested in. Fultz unfortunately had to recover from an ACL tear for most of the season though, so Anthony did have a chance to prove himself, and not only has he done that, but he's taken control of this young Magic team and in a way has served as their leader. He's vocal, he's fun, and he's a dynamic playmaker. On the season, he's averaging about 17.5 points and 6 assists per game, which is way up from his rookie season, and while I will admit that his shooting efficiency needs to improve, he's done well under the circumstances of the talent around him. He definitely has a long career ahead of him as an impactful playmaker, and while he may not be cut out long-term to be a starting point guard, I could see him being in some 6th Man of the Year races down the line. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the players we discussed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.